Hi friends, I'm Felicia. Welcome back to my channel. As you may notice, this is a very different location from where I usually film, and that's because right now my library is full of lumber and paneling and other such things, because that's the room that we're kind of storing all of the materials for our bathroom renovation right now. So that's still ongoing, almost done, but my brother-in-law has been working on that with my husband helping him, and he's been coming when he has time, and so all that stuff just stays here while he's working on it. I'm sure most of it he doesn't really need anymore, but it's still just in our house, and it will get cleared out when he's done, I guess. I don't mind, because it's motivation that he has to come and finish it. Yeah, we'll see. It's been a month already, 5 weeks since he started, and for 3 weeks we were not living at home, and so that's kind of why the lack of videos. Yeah, we were staying at my in-laws, and then the past couple weeks we've been home, but it's just been like complete disaster zone, just trying to get it back into a livable state. So that's kind of where I've been. I have been reading lots, so I mean, I got a lot to talk to you about, and I'm going to be doing my May and June wrap up. Yeah, because I didn't do my May wrap up because it was just crazy, and I don't even feel bad about it. You just get an extra long video today, and I'm going to have fun editing this and trying to speak succinctly so that this video isn't a million years long. My camera is focusing on my elbow. Got a lot to get through, so let's do this. I got the list of books on my phone because I couldn't even access most of them, so yeah, we'll see. Okay, so the first book that I finished in May was a reread of Insurgent by Veronica Roth, and I listened to that on audio, and I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't remember much about the plot, like how it was different from the movie. I just remember that the movie was quite different. Overall, I actually really enjoyed it. It wasn't as bad upon a reread as I thought it was. You know how like the series gets wrapped and everyone's just like meh. Insurgent was so meh. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I mean, it wasn't perfect, and I still think that the first book is the best one in the series, but overall I was actually okay with it. I had a complaint with the end of Divergent that actually was dealt with in this one. If you are curious what that is, you can check out my Goodreads review, because I do have it as a spoiler in there. And this might be controversial, but I actually like Tris better when her and Four aren't together. Like, all the parts when they were together were really boring, and then the rest of it was actually good. So I don't know what that says. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah. So I don't know. I quite enjoyed it, and I finally got the audiobook for Allegiant from my library, so I'm going to be listening to that hopefully next week. The next book that I finished in May was How to Fly with Broken Wings by Jane Elson. That was a book that I received from Neck Alley for review a year ago. So it's about a boy who is on the autism spectrum. Not sure. I don't remember where he falls on there. And he is obsessed with flying. He wants to be a pilot. He loves planes. It's a middle grade book. Did I say that already? So it's about a boy who's obsessed with planes and flying, and he meets this girl who also loves planes and flying and that stuff. And so they form kind of an unlikely friendship, and it deals with very interesting themes. Like, it deals with kids being in gangs and gang riots and autism and coming from single parent homes and family illness and just like lots of things. It was an enjoyable read. I don't read tons of middle grade, so I don't know actually if this is a good middle grade or not, but I kind of enjoyed it. So if you're curious about it, look up the summary on Goodreads. It'll summarize it better than I can right now. And but yeah, I would say that it was worth a read. Yeah, it was kind of cute and heartwarming, and it had very, very interesting themes, and so I would recommend it. I participated in the book buddy-a-thon, and my buddy was Rachel from the Shades of Orange, and she was a great buddy, even though she thinks that she wasn't, she was. Yeah, we had a lot of fun reading together, and so I got a few books read during that. They weren't like, wasn't nearly all of them. I didn't complete nearly all of the challenges, and some of them I read over the month and not just during that week, but it was still a lot of fun. The first book that I finished was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and I have a physical copy of it, but it is inaccessible to me right now. And that is the one fulfilled the challenge of choose 3 books and then let your buddy pick one, and Rachel picked that one for me. And so I read through it very quickly. It was a beautiful book. If you don't know what the story is about, it's about a boy who is dealing with his mom being sick with cancer, and one night as he's looking out the window, he sees this tree come to life and come walking towards his window. And so this is the monster that he meets, and the monster is kind of helping him deal with his feelings about his mom being sick and his kind of life situation and stuff. And this was just a beautiful story, so well written. The emotions that Patrick Ness was able to capture were just spot on. He was just 100% accurate with that. Yeah, and it was beautiful. The edition that I have doesn't have the illustrations, and so I was actually able to borrow the ebook from Overdrive, so I looked at the pictures on my phone while I was reading it from my physical copy. And I would say, because I was kind of concerned if the illustrations really would take away from my reading experience, I would say if you don't have access to them, just Google them, because I tried it and it worked. So just Google them if you don't have access to that, and that will be fine, I think. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's, is it classified as middle grade or young adult? It has a older middle grade young adult protagonist. I'm not sure what the age range for that distinction is, but yeah, I highly recommend it. It's just totally heart-wrenching, and I was just very emotional, and I was so glad that Rachel picked that one for me to read. Yeah, that's Barbara English. The next book, there was supposed to be a book that we were supposed to buddy read together, which will be the next book that I talked about, but we ended up kind of doing this one as our buddy read because Rachel didn't end up liking the other one and she DNF'd it. We kind of switched our buddy read to Paris Letters by Janice McLeod, and that's another physical book that I own that I don't have access to right now. Yeah, that's actually a reread for me, and that was the one that I picked for her to read, and I was so excited about her reading it that I just decided to read it again myself, and it was just it's so wonderful. It's a woman's memoir about her experience. She hates her job, she hates the corporate life, and so she decides she's going to save up money for a year, get out of debt, and then she's going to go traveling for 6 months. So it's just documenting her experience doing that, and then her process of getting out of debt and saving up and that chunk of her life, and then her going to Paris and her travels there. And I just absolutely love this book. It's a fantastic travel memoir. It's like half a food memoir. It's about creativity because she is a very creative person, and so she kind of unlocks that in her, unlocks the achievement in herself. I don't know where that came from. And I just absolutely love it. The beginning section where she's getting out of debt and living frugally, that's like my favorite part. It's all my favorite part. I just love the book. But I love how she goes through it. I love stories about people living frugally and like doing challenges for themselves over a year and just stuff like that. It's just awesome. And then the parts when she is in Paris and in Europe, it just completely makes me feel like I could create anything, like I could be an artist. And so if you have any creative or artistic tendencies in yourself, if you like travel memoirs, like definitely read this book. It's just absolutely wonderful and inspiring, and it's just a great memoir, and I think Janice McLeod is a great writer, and so you'll just fly through it, and it's wonderful, and you should read it because it's very good. So the book then that we were going to originally buddy read, but Rachel wasn't liking. I ended up really liking and finishing, and so that was Wool by Hugh Howey. And this one also could count for read a book with your buddy's favorite color on the cover, because you can't see, but it's like red and orange, and Rachel's favorite color is orange. So this was a book that actually just a few days prior to the readathon had been recommended to me and raved about to me by my brother-in-law. He isn't a crazy reader. He enjoys reading, but not like we do on BookTube. But he told me that he read it in the span of a weekend, and it's over 500 pages. Like, I think it's like 550 pages, and he read it in a weekend. So that told me that was a really good book and that I needed to pick it up. And it was a really good book, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. It is about this society that lives in an underground silo, and they kind of don't know why they're down there. That's just kind of how life is, and they've been there for several hundred years already. Yeah, I'm not going to really go into the synopsis because it's just, I don't want to spoil anything, and I feel like I might do that if I go too far into it. But it's just a brilliant story. I think Hugh Howey is a great storyteller, and he has a very interesting way of telling the story, kind of going back and forth between points of view, and kind of weaving those things together until they meet in the middle at the end, I guess. I definitely recommend for people who like dystopian, who like post-apocalyptic. The book was only $2.99 on Kindle, so like, what's your excuse for not reading it? Because seriously. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I know Rachel wasn't really into it. Oh, my battery's gonna die. Dang you, battery. I'm just gonna keep talking until it dies. So there. Then the next book that I finished was an audiobook, and it was only an hour long, and I guess it's a short story, and that is Doctor Who, The Jade Pyramid by Martin Day, narrated by Matt Smith on audio, and it was just a delight. Yeah, I just randomly saw it on Overdrive one day, and I was like, I have to listen to this, and it was great. It's just like an episode of Doctor Who in an audio form. And highly recommend to fans of Doctor Who. Like, so good. And I found out there's like a whole series of these BBC audiobooks, and I am trying to figure out where I can get my hands on them. I don't know if it's only through Audible. I don't really want to buy them from Audible, but I will if I have to, because they're ones narrated by David Tennant and the actress that plays Martha. I never can remember what her name is, and Arthur Darvill, and I think Karen Gillian, and Donna Noble, Catherine Tate, and yeah, so just brilliant. So highly recommend for fans of Doctor Who. And then the next book that I listened to after that was also an audiobook, and that was Catch Me If You Can by Frank Abagnale Jr., and that is the book that the movie is based off of. So it's Frank Abagnale's memoir of the time in his life when he was a con man, and it was just super fascinating. He did have help with another writer, and apparently that writer kind of embellished things a little bit, I found out, but still just a great story. And just the things that happened to him in his life, if you haven't seen the movie, like, go watch it. I don't think it really deters from your enjoyment of reading this book at some time, because the movie, I've seen that many times, and that's why I decided to pick up the book. The narrator was really good. There were some parts where I was disturbed by just his descriptions of how he treated women and how he viewed women, but that, like, it was the 60s, so maybe I'll let it slide. And he was 17, like, he was a teenager for the majority of this book. Like, I forgot so often how young he was when he was doing these things. Like, it was just insane. So I really recommend the audiobook if it's great. And, okay, you have to find the edition that has the epilogue if you have seen the movie before, or even not, because the audiobook that I listened to did not have the epilogue, and it ended at a spot where I knew his story didn't end. So I did a little bit of research, found out there was a newer edition with an epilogue added, and so I found that on, I think I found it on Overdrive. I had to read it, and so, because the ending, where it ends in the normal edition is not where his story ends. So I was not satisfied, and so I was glad that I was able to find the one with the epilogue so I could read the epilogue, and I was like, okay, good, I have peace now about this. So highly recommend if you're looking for a really exciting memoir. Okay, so now we're on to June, and so the books that I have read so far in June, there's only one day left in June. Okay, but I started reading Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. Hope I'm saying that right. So I read volume 1 and volume 2, and I'm just about done this, so I'm going to count it because I'm going to finish it yet today. This is volumes 3 and 4 in an ultimate edition together. I remember about a decade ago trying to read Fruits Basket because I had heard of it, and I might have even read the whole thing, but I was not into manga at all back then. Like graphic, I didn't read anything besides Garfield and Foxtrot, like, so it was a stretch. But so I've read a lot of graphic novels and comics since then, so I get to understand it a bit more. But I really enjoyed it. I started reading it after Kaylee from Books from NK's she read the whole 20 volume series in like a week or something, like crazy lady. She made a video about it, and so I was like, I'm gonna read that because it sounds cute and fun, and it is cute and fun. It's about a family who is cursed to become members, different animals in the zodiac, if they are weak or angry or kind of out of control of their emotions, or if they are touched by someone from the opposite sex. And so, hi Rogue. So it's just a really fun time, and the main character, Toru, she's just like kind of like this lovable ditz, and she just loves everybody, and she's so naive and innocent, but she's so cute, and it's just really funny and cute, and I'm enjoying it so far. And I have the next 2 volumes in an ultimate bind up, and then I will have to go back to the library to get more. I am so surprised that my battery has not died yet. So then the next book that I read was Stories from the Vinyl Cafe by Stuart McLean, and so this is the first book in the Vinyl Cafe series, and so this one is a little bit different than the one that I first read, and this one alternates between a story of Dave and Morley and a story just totally outside from just like a random character. This is not, I wouldn't recommend this one. Like, don't start with this because the stories were, I don't know, I didn't enjoy them as much. I can't figure out, I can't say English words. I'm not sure if it was just the way he was telling it. Like, this is the first volume in these stories, so they have a bit of a different feel. They don't feel as cozy. They still kind of do, but not as much. Not as heartwarming. I'm not sure. It didn't pull me into these characters that I love as much as the other one did. So yeah, I would just skip this one. I mean, because you kind of just start in the middle of these guys' lives anyway, Dave and Morley and their family. So just go ahead and pick them up out of order. I decided that I was going to start reading it in publication order just because. Yeah, skip this one because it's not that good. I mean, ugh. It's good because it's Stuart McLean, but it wasn't what I was wanting, so yeah. Next book that I read was Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson, and I finally read a Morgan Matson book and I loved it. I really enjoyed this book. I think it actually took me too long to read. I wasn't able to sit down and read it in big chunks, and I think that's good because once I was able to do that towards the end, it just really picked up for me. So yeah, do that if you're planning on reading this. And I'm not going to go into what the story's about because this is all over BookTube, and they just had Month of Matson, and I really enjoyed it. Think I'm going to be a fan of Morgan Matson now. I just realized that this is casting a shadow on my face, and I'm sorry. Hope that's not bothering you too much. So I'm going to be reading her books in publication order as well, so I'm going to be picking up Second Chance Summer soon. And then the next book that I read was The Young Elites by Marie Lu. Rogue is chasing a fly in the closet, so that's cool. So, yeah, that was a reread for me. I listened to it on audio because I wanted to read The Rose Society, and then I got it on overdrive. I had it reserved for a long time, and then I finally got it, and then I realized that I didn't really remember much of the first book, so I decided to quickly listen to that one again. It was available, so I did that, and I think I enjoyed it more than I did the first time, because the first time I was expecting Adelina to be a hero, and she's actually an anti-hero character, which is very interesting. And so going into that with that mindset made it a lot better, realizing that she is not a good character. She definitely has a dark and light side, and it's a kind of a fantasy story about mutants or superpower, you know, they have superpowers essentially. It's an interesting world. So I do want to continue on with this series. The last book is coming out this year, so I was like, you know, I'll finish out the series just from the library. I won't buy them. Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I did the first time. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading the Rose Society also, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, because I only have it for another 2 weeks. So just go into the Young Elites with just like a mindset. It's just a meh book. It didn't blow my mind, but it's a really interesting story, and I think it has potential to go somewhere. The first book just felt really repetitive to me, so yeah, we will see where things go from there. Last book that I have completely finished was Hark, Vagrant by Kate Beaton, and I loved it. Kate Beaton is hilarious. She's a fellow Canadian. I'm trying to talk fast now because my battery's going to die any second. And so she just does basically history comics, and she just kind of tells the history in a very funny way. These are definitely not for younger readers, because there's kind of mature jokes in there. It doesn't really bother me, but I know it might bother some people. So just expect that if you're going to read this. So my camera did die on me, so I'm just going to finish talking about this book, and I don't remember what I was saying, but basically it's just really funny. I really enjoyed it. I have her next one, Step Aside Pops, and I'm looking forward to reading it because she makes history very interesting, which I love. I love history, but I want to read interesting things about history, and specifically Canadian history, which she does have some of in here because she's a Canadian, so yay. And her art style is just really funny. I'm gonna see if I can find something that's appropriate. Oh yeah, she does these things. She has a segment with covers done by MC Escher, I think is his name. So I hope this is an appropriate page. Yeah. So she takes the cover, and then she's like telling you what she thinks happens in the book just based on that cover, and it's just hilarious. So that's a part of it. I remembered one more book that I didn't update into my spreadsheet yet, so I forgot about it because I was going off my spreadsheet. And that is the second book in the Silo series, Shift by Hugh Howey, and it was really good. This is kind of a prequel that meets up with the first book, and it was, I don't know, it might have been better than the first one. This one it was like really trippy and mind-blowing. It was really interesting, just seeing the backstory of this world and how it came to be, and Rogue's going crazy again. And yeah, I found it really fascinating. And I mean, one thing about Hugh Howey's characters is that a lot of the time they end up sounding the same, but it's kind of an adventure story. It's not about the characters, and so I don't know, it didn't really bother me that much, just sometimes. So, but yeah, I still really recommend this series. It's still really addictive, and I'm really excited to read the last book and see how everything ends, because I just need to know some things about it and the world. So that's my May and June wrap up. Thank you for your patience with me. Thanks for sticking with me. I do have a couple more videos that we'll be filming once my battery is charged, or on this weekend, because it's Canada Day weekend, and so that's really awesome, and I'm really looking forward to a long weekend. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day, and until next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.